What's up, Astralis? My name's Alka, and the top 5 roamers may not be who you think. To prove this point, coming into my number 5 spot is going to be Legion. Now, you may have seen my top 5 anchors video, where I also put Legion in the top 5, because you can play him in many different ways. You can anchor as him and still gain the same amount of value out of him, but you can also roam as him and still gain that value, right? So the whole point of why he's good is because, 1, he's very easy to learn. His goo mines you can throw anywhere at any time, and he is a very easy to learn SMG with a very low skill ceiling that you can pick up no matter what skill level you are, right? You just throw goo mines down on staircases and doorways, and you're pretty much set for the entire round. And this being said, if you use him correctly and you put his goo mines in the correct spots, which again isn't hard to learn, you get information out of him. Whenever someone steps on your goo mine, you get information that you can swing off of, right? So let's say you're sitting behind a doorway, someone steps on your goo mine, you swing the doorway and you kill them because you have information on where they are, and they don't have information on you, which is really, really powerful for gunfights, and that's why he's so good, especially if you're just learning the game. This being said, even if he's good for newer players, that doesn't mean he's bad for existing players, right? He can be good at a very advanced level because, again, he has such a reliable and easy to use gadget, as well as his gun being very, very easy to use. Now that they added the extended barrel into the game, and because he has a vertical grip, this thing has absolutely zero recoil with a good amount of damage, and its fire rate is absolutely insane. Just going more in depth about his SMG, it has 32 damage, but if you put an extendo on it, it does even more. Pairing that with its 30 bullets and 900 fire rate, this thing is an absolute beast, especially because there's barely any recoil due to the fact that you can put a vertical grip on it, which is very, very powerful, and there's only the one-time sights on it, so you don't have to worry about having a super zoomed in scope that makes your recoil harder to control. So not only do you have information that helps you with gunfights, but you also have an SMG that's very easy to use. As Legion, you can roam with him very efficiently. He's not a 3 armor, he's a 2 armor, 2 speed, which makes roaming doable, but not super hard to do. What you would do is you would set up your pre-round Legion mines near the site on all the staircases, and then once the round starts, all the goo mines you get from there on, you would then use on your roam. So if I'm extending from the site really far away, I would throw the goo mines in all the common doorways that the attackers would try to use to clear me out, hence wasting a lot more time for them and giving me easier gunfights if I choose to swing them. He's also a very good shield counter because people can't have their shields up whenever they have goo mines in their feet. Blitz can't sprint when he has a goo mine in his feet. Monty can't be fully shielded when he has a goo mine in his foot. So it's a good shield counter. It's also a good rush counter because not only can Blitz not sprint when he has a goo mine in his foot, but nobody can sprint when they have a goo mine in their foot, right? So it slows down the attacker rush a lot, which is very good for this meta because this meta is very fast-paced, it's very rush heavy. He also brings impact grenades, which you can use on the roam if you want to be able to rotate in and out of your position easier to further reinforce his roaming playstyle. Overall, he's very easy to learn and easy to play, and if you want to get good at roaming, he has a great start. Coming into my number 4 spot is going to be Vigil. Vigil has probably been the most ideal version of what a roamer should be, and most people have played him throughout the years of roaming and Siege as like their reliable roamer pick, right? So he does everything a roamer needs to be able to do. He's a 3 speed, which makes it very easy to run around and flank people or run away if they're pressuring you too hard. He also has drone denial, which is the one thing that can kind of counter roamers, right? Is information with the attackers. If they have information on you via a jackal scan, a lion scan, a dokkaebi call, or droning, it's very easy to clear you out because, again, information helps with gunfights, like I said earlier with Legion. So to be able to deny this while also being a 3 speed is very powerful, especially because Lion is super meta right now. He can move in a lion scan if he has his ability activated, which is super powerful. So I definitely recommend you pick Vigil up if you haven't already. That being said, just like Legion, he's very easy to play. With a click of a button, nothing can get information on you except for like dokkaebi calls and jackal tracks, right? Other than that, it's very easy to play because you can waste so much time if they can't have information on you. Attackers are a lot more scared to swing you if they don't have any information on where you might be. So you being able to deny that is very good. The only thing though is if you're moving around a lot, it kind of negates his ability. So what you have to do as Vigil is whenever you're roaming in one room and they're about to drone the room, you activate your ability and you stand completely still. If you move around, the little white lines in the screen get bigger and bigger so they know that you're nearby, and they can also still hear your footsteps. If you sprint, it negates the ability completely because they can still kind of see you on the camera. So what I would do, again, if they drone you out or they drone near you, just activate your ability and sit completely still. Once they've stopped droning you, deactivate your ability so it can recharge, and then move around, swing the people, kill the people, do what you need to do to waste as much time as possible. Because as a roamer, that's what you need to be doing. Your job isn't to get kills, contrary to popular belief. It's actually just to waste as much time as possible so that the attackers have very little time to execute onto the objective. Vigil is very good at doing this because of his ability, so I definitely recommend you pick him up if you haven't already. Coming into my number 3 spot is going to be Mozzie. Now Mozzie is very similar to Vigil in the way that their abilities work. It's essentially just a drone denial gadget, but Mozzie's gadget is a bit more versatile. He has 3 pests that he can shoot out that take over attacker drones. This includes Twitch drones, Flores drones, or normal drones, and if you're watching this video by the time the new operator comes out on attack, it also probably takes over their drone drone too. The coolest thing about Mozzie though is when you do take over their drone, you can move it around and use the abilities on that drone. So you can take over a normal drone and move it around. You can take over a Twitch drone, move it around, and shock people. You can't do this with Flores drones though, and I don't know about the new operator because he hasn't come out yet, so we'll see about that, but still a very powerful tool to be able to use. There's two playstyles that you can use with Mozzie. You can either A, put down your pest on site immediately in the prep phase so that when attackers drone you in the prep phase, you can take over their drones, or B, you can shoot all the drones in the prep phase, and then you can roam with him and use his pest as drone denial so they can't drone you out and you can waste as much time as possible. Now option B, the second option I listed, is the best option. The reason I say this is because one, if you're using him for cameras, you might as well use Valkyrie, right? Because Valkyrie has 3 cameras that she can move anywhere, just like Mozzie does. Echo, same thing, right? So if you're using him for cameras, I wouldn't necessarily play Mozzie, I'd play somebody else that brings more utility at a more reliable rate. If you are shooting drones in the prep phase and then also using his drones as drone denial, it's even more powerful because you're capturing and destroying more drones and denying more intel. Also, if you do catch a drone on defense, there is a chance that you can still escape with that drone alive and use it for intel for yourself to be able to get information to then swing attackers. It's very rare that you'll be able to do so because a lot of times attackers are contesting and shooting their own drones once you take them over, but even then, just the drone denial itself is very, very powerful. While I'm on the topic, I do want to talk about his loadout. The Commando 9 is a very good starter AR because it has almost no recoil, its damage is pretty good, and it has 25 bullets, and the reload animation is also pretty awesome. So if you want a good starter AR, I definitely recommend that, but if you want to give yourself a bit of a challenge and you want to have easier gunfights, I definitely recommend you pick up the P10 Roni. The P10 Roni has a 1.5 times scope on it, and if you can control its recoil, the fire rate is an absolute monstrosity for a gun, especially an SMG, so this thing is absolutely insane. The only downside is it has 15 bullets. Mozzie's pistol actually has more ammo than the P10 Roni, so you need to be used to taking gunfights with very little ammo. By the time this video comes out, the reload rework might even be coming into effect, so if it makes it to where it's even harder to maintain that ammo, I definitely recommend you pick up the Commando 9, especially if you're new to the game. But that being said, if you're a bit of a skilled player and you can manage a low ammo gun, I definitely recommend the P10 Roni. That's what I run. And then he also has a nitro cell, which makes him even more diverse than the people below him. So overall, he's kind of a utility powerhouse as long as you're roaming with him and using his pest for drone denial late in the round. You can waste as much time as possible and get a lot of value out of this operator. He's also very fun to play with his guns. And if you're looking for a bit more of a challenge on a roamer and you're trying to get more flashy plays, I definitely recommend that you pick Mozzie up. Coming into my number 2 spot by zero surprise is going to be Solus. Solus is an outstanding operator in general because she's able to deny so much attacker utility, and even if she's not denying that utility, she can still see all of it and warn her teammates. So the more coordinated you are with her, the better she's going to be. Now this video is mainly targeted towards solo queue people because that's the majority of the player base. If you are in a stack, however, I definitely think that she's on the number 1 of this tier list, and the number 1 should be put in the number 2 spot. But I guarantee you're probably just a solo queue player, so that's why she's in the number 2. Solus's pure ability to be able to deny as much information as possible is great for the roaming playstyle because, like I said, it's one thing that you need to be able to do to waste as much time as possible and effectively be a good roamer. She's able to deny drones, she's able to deny cutoff cameras, she's able to see if there's claymores or air jabs for runouts, so her kill potential is through the roof because she's able to deny so much utility. And if you're playing with a team that you can call out to, or you just have comms in general, you can help your team out so much by giving so much information due to you being off-site and knowing where the attackers are coming from, knowing what utility they have, and so on. Especially if they're playing Dokkaebi, or if they're droning really heavily, you can see the phones in everybody's pockets, and you can see them through walls like you would be able to with Pulse. So she's essentially just a better Pulse. She's also able to deny plants, so if they're trying to rush you and plant very heavily, you can just go below, you can see the diffuser through the floor, and you're able to deny the plant when you're on the roam below the site. So if you roam with her, you're going to get so much value out of her, and I definitely recommend you pick her up. With that out of the way though, the number 1 roamer that you need to be playing in Rainbow Six Siege is Alibi. Now they did nerf her and they took away her 1.5, but that didn't take away why she was good. The reason that she was good was not her 1.5, but it was all of the abilities and utility that she brought along with it. Just looking at her loadout, let's take a look, right? She has the MX4 Storm, which is a great SMG. The 1.5 did make it better, but still it's an amazing weapon, right? You put an extended barrel on it, it does a lot of damage, it has 950 fire rate with 30 bullets and little to no recoil, so a great solo queue weapon. She also has the ACS-12 if you want to do a bit of trolling. I personally don't recommend it, but it's still kind of a cool gun to use. And then she has a bailiff for site setup or for offsite rotations, right? And then if you bring the bailiff, you also have a deployable shield that you can either sit behind, put clones behind, or your teammates can use. Deployable shields are very, very, very valuable, especially in this meta, because again, it slows down attacker rushes, and rushing is kind of the meta like we talked about with Legion. So just the amount of utility that she brings is unparalleled for a roamer. Not to mention her clones, right? Not the best of an ability, but still pretty good, and it brings information, which can further help you on the roam, again, like I was talking about with the Legion and with the Mozzie examples. So overall, she's a utility powerhouse. And not even talking about your utility, let's just go into playing her as a roamer, right? Again, the MX4 Storm. She doesn't deny any droning, but the pure amount of skill that you can get on this weapon because of how good it is and how easy it is to use is absolutely insane. If you thought the T5 on Legion was great, wait till you try this weapon. A lot of people didn't like the recoil on this weapon when they had extended barrel or suppressor on it because of the 1.5, but now that you don't have a choice but to run the 1x scopes, this thing has absolutely zero recoil. She's also a 3-speed, mind you, so being able to rotate is very easy for her, and she has impacts or a bailiff that you can use to make the rotations easier. Now, like I said, if you're more with a stack and you're actually using the utility more, then I would put Solos in the number 1 and her in the number 2 just because of communication sakes. But for actual solo queue people, which is 80% of the player base, like I said again, she is outstanding. She's a great operator. I definitely recommend you play her. So with that out of the way, sub the channel down below. I post 4 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Like the video if you liked it. Again, my name is Alk, and I will see you on the next video. Later.